Keto Hash Brown Casserole. Is that even possible? Come on, I'll show you how I made this. All right, let's talk about these ingredients real quick like. First thing we have is 6 eggs. And I want to thank my buddy Randy at work for supplying me with fresh eggs. Man, what a blessing that is. I don't know if you can tell, but man, you see how dark yellow those are? There's just something special about fresh eggs. But anyway, I've got 2 cups of pepper jack cheese. I've got 2 turnips. You can use, give or take, 3. It depends on the size, but I got one real big one and kind of one medium one, but use 2 turnips would be good. I've got a pound of ground pork. This is sausage. And when you're selecting your sausage, if you're doing a keto, just be mindful of the ingredients. You can get ground pork and season it however you want to, and you'll know exactly what's in it. So that's just an idea. I've got 1/4 cup of onions. And also, if you're doing keto and you're on a real strict keto and you're watching every little bit of carbs, you can omit this, but it really adds a lot of flavor. That's minced up real nice. And then I've got 2 tablespoons of sour cream. And then for the seasoning, I've got a little bit of sage. I've got about a 1/2 teaspoon of sage and about a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. Since I've already got my onions there, and just a little dash of salt and pepper in here, you can season it to taste. That's the basic ingredients. It's real simple. Let's get it rolling. I've already cooked this sausage up to save you some time watching me cooking it, so we'll get it going. So what I've done is I've shredded up the turnips. I've let them soak in water for about 5-10 minutes. And then I've drained off as much of that water as I can. And I did put a little seasoning in there, a little salt, just to kind of help draw some of that moisture out. But anyway, that is shredded and it's ready to go. And I'm gonna put it in this big old bowl here, my good old Rubbermaid bowl. And you know, this recipe was inspired by where my church is having a breakfast coming up tomorrow, actually. And I don't like experimenting on people at church, but I want to try this here first, and then maybe next year I can do it. But anyway, I'm gonna throw this in there, the turnips, and then I'm gonna add the onions and the seasoning. And like I said, you can season this however you like. I'm thinking that's gonna be a good fixture for this. And all I'm gonna do is just kind of stir this up and get it incorporated, the onions and the turnips. And what I wanna do is go throw this on the stove for just a little while and let all the water get cooked out of the turnips and let them get a little bit brown, like a hash brown, and we'll go from there. But all right, let's put this in the pan, and we'll put it in the pan. And hash browns are really good with butter, so you might can use some butter in there. But we're gonna throw this in there. We're gonna throw this on the stove for just a little while. And we'll come back in here and assemble all this, and it'll be awesome. I can't wait. All right, I'm cooking out the water pretty much, and the turnips and the onions, just kind of caramelizing those. And we're trying to get this to look more like hash browns, and brown them up a little bit. And then we'll layer them in here in just a minute. Okay, the next step of our recipe, we're just gonna pour the eggs in this big old bowl, a bigger mixing bowl here. We'll get those in there, and we'll add our sour cream. And this is going to be the soup that we pour over it. And I'm going to put about half of the pepper jack cheese. And we're going to put that in there and just kind of mix it together a little bit. And then comes the fun part. After we get that, the fun part is, of course, assembling the casserole. So I have our standard kind of casserole dish here, and what we're going to do is, like every casserole, you're going to layer it in. And so for this one, I'm going to put a little layer of sausage in the bottom, and so we're going to run that through there like this, and just get that in the bottom real nice, and just to kind of get a base layer. And then we're going to put the hash browns, and you see how they're kind of golden in color now. I'm going to put a nice little layer of that on top of this. Just kind of put it around a little bit, and we want it to kind of be you know, mixed up really nice and distributed evenly. We'll put that in there. And then I want a little bit of the cheese in here. Just go ahead and just put a little bit right there. Just kind of spread it around. And then, of course, repeat the process. So we're just going to go back with the sausage, run that around, and you get the idea. And then we're saving the egg mix to last, and we're going to pour that on there, and it's going to go down in it, and it's going to be awesome, I hope. I want to test it on myself. Before I let anybody else try it, and you're going to see the results here first thing, because I don't like to spring something out there, then it'd be like, oh, that's nasty. And a lot of times I'd make these recipes, and it's like, I have no idea how they're going to come out, but I wouldn't publish them if I didn't like them. So that's just kind of where I'm at on that. If they're nasty, it would be a waste of your time to show you a whole recipe and say, yuck, don't try this recipe, it stinks. So anyway, you get the idea. So let's finish this up real quick. And the key is trying to trick your brain into thinking these are hash browns in here. I did try a recipe just the other week, and that's what kind of inspired me on this. I done a hash brown recipe that turned out really well, and I was happy about it. So I thought, man, this would be a nice casserole. I'm giving it a whirl and seeing what happens. All right, I've got that all layered up in there, and I'm just going to pour the eggs over this, and that cheese is going to sit on top with some extra cheese, but we're going to let that kind of seep down into it a little bit. And I'm going to tap on it and rub it in a little bit just to get it down in there, because that is what's the glue that's holding it all together. You know what I'm saying? The eggs and cheese and everything. So we're going to let it, I'm poking some holes in it, let it get down in there. And I imagine you could probably just mix all this together and put it in the bowl, and it would just be a nice little casserole, but this is the route I took. So don't be afraid to experiment with things, because hey, this is one big experiment. All right, I've got that spread out in there really nice, and now what I'm going to do is just top it off with a little bit of this pepper jack cheese, and I might sprinkle just a little bit of pork rinds on top to let it get a little color. I've got my oven preheated to 350 degrees. I'm going to go put this in there for about 20-25 minutes and see where we're at. I just wanted to get golden brown on top. I don't want to burn my eggs up or anything, so I'm going to look at it about 20-25 minutes into it. Oh, heck yeah, here it is fresh out of the oven. And we are getting ready to cut it and dig in. Oh yeah, taste test time, man. I'm smelling this and it's smelling good. I can't wait to dig in and see what we have here. Like I said, this is the first time I've attempted this with the turnips and stuff, and I'm just kind of skeptical a little bit. But I got faith because I have tried them in the another recipe. So hey, let's give it a try and see how it turns out. Wow, man, I cannot tell there's turnips in there. It is a little heavy on the onions. You might want to cut back just a little bit. If you're not a big fan of onions, you can leave those out. But the texture of this thing is, oh, so good. And this is going to be filling, and I'm going to take this to church and show those old ladies up. How about that? That'll never happen, but you know what I mean. Hey, until next time. Eat you some breakfast casserole, and may the Lord bless you. Man.